Those of you that don't know me, I'm Martin, and I get the pleasure of serving the elders here in Living Hope and being part of this wonderful church of Castletown. So I want to share with you this morning probably the greatest subject. I'm Castletown Centre for the South. We do both. Remember that. Sorry, I just need to pray for my pastor because he forgets that we have two churches at the moment. And also everything. So, this for me is the day when every day in my life is a celebration because I remember what Jesus has done for me. Yeah, so this for me is probably a day when we can just remember exactly what Jesus did for us, but celebrate. Do you know, sometimes when we come into church, we can feel so down, and we can feel so heavy, and we feel like the burden of the world is upon our shoulders. And can I tell you today that that's okay sometimes? Because that's life. Some days, life throws us some bad cards. But you know, Jesus is life. And he wants to change our cards. And today we get to speak about when he was resurrected. But we need to go back just a little bit before I can. So I want to talk to you about Good Friday first. Because what he did on Good Friday, he hung up on the cross for 6 hours. And he just hung there. Not getting envious, not getting bitter. There was even 2 people on crossing beside him. And even when he would have had, Jesus could have thought the whole world was against him, the whole sin of the world was just being poured upon him. Even his father had to look the other way as he hung there. One of the people on the cross was still mocking him, at the side of him too. But then there was one on the other side that was saying, today I want to be with you. I accept you, I see who you are, I know who you are, I understand why you're doing this, and I want to be in your kingdom, even though he was a criminal. And Jesus said, today you'll be with me in paradise. Today could be your moment where you step into paradise. You may not feel it in your heart, you may not feel it in your actual soul, but this could be your resurrection Sunday, but it can be. And it can be for me as well. I try and think of every day being a resurrection Sunday, because Jesus has resurrected so much in my life and changed so much in my life that I can only but celebrate him and have his praises on my lips, even when I don't feel like it. But then what did he do? He hung there a little bit longer and he said, it is finished. And the song we were singing this morning, when the ground would shake and everything would be torn, there was a veil that was torn in two. And nobody understood why at this moment that veil was torn in two, but it was so you and I could step through. And I love the fact that what the enemy used for evil, thinking that that was going to be the end of it, that Jesus was going to die upon that cross. And many of his disciples, even when he came to Saturday, would have been thinking, what on earth is going on? Where has he gone? He told me he'd be risen. Little did they know that God was working behind the scenes on your behalf, on my behalf, on your behalf. He was working on everybody's behalf in here so we can have a true relationship with Jesus Christ, and he was taking back the keys of death. Something that Adam gave to him in the fall, gave to authority over to Satan, Jesus himself was taking back. And then we have to think of the greatest thing in the Bible, I believe, that Jesus said, I am the resurrection. He proclaimed himself to be the resurrection because he comes to give life, and life in all of its fullness. And then now we can get to where I want to be in the Bible for this morning, for Resurrection Sunday, because he did all of that. And then this is what happened next. If you want to turn, oh no, sorry, I forgot, I'm in Port St. Mary. This is what we do in Port St. Mary. Can you all raise your paper Bibles to me, please? Chris, I am not sure where you went to school, but I'm sure that's a smartphone. Please turn over your pages if you can to show me it's a paper Bible. But if you don't have one, the reason why we're doing this isn't to name and shame you. It's if now those of you with a Bible, you can raise them down. Those of you that would like a Bible, can you raise your hands, please, because we will give some out to you. Now, thank you, Chris. I feel your conviction. And then when you get your Bible, can you turn to Luke 24 for me, please? I'm just going to pray, and then we'll read. Father God, I thank you for this morning. I thank you, Lord Jesus, that we can come and meet so freely on this wonderful morning and celebrate the resurrection of you. I thank you, Lord, that we can come freely into the house and not have to worry about what people think and what people say, or even hide away and celebrate you behind closed doors because of the fear of what may happen to us. But Lord, for your saints around the world this morning that can meet either freely or that are going to meet behind closed doors, we ask for them to have liberty. We ask for them to feel your power in the resurrection. And for us in here today, Lord, don't let anybody under the sound of my voice leave here without knowing that they are loved, that they are saved, and that their life can be resurrected in you. In Jesus' name. Amen. So I'm just going to read the first part, and it's Luke 24, verse 1. But on the first day of the week, at early dawn, they went to the tomb, taking the spices they had prepared. This is Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of Jesus. They would have been going to the tomb that day to embalm Jesus, because in their eyes he was dead. So they were going to go and embalm him. You know what that is, when they stick all that stuff up their nose when they've died. Make it so they don't smell. But that would have signified death. So it's really significant. We have to understand the actual time scale of this weekend. Because some people ask, why didn't they go on the Saturday? Why would they wait until the first day of the week, which is Sunday, to go and do this? But we have to understand that the Saturday would have been a Sabbath day. Because Jesus had resurrected. So that Saturday would have been that they cannot work. They were forbidden to work upon that day. So what they would have done, they would have had to just wait. But if we foretell why it was going to be a Sabbath, it's because look at what God was doing. Like I said at the first part of this service, he was then busy working on our behalf. So there was no way they could go to the tomb on that day because it hadn't finished. What Jesus had actually died for hadn't been finished upon that day until the Sunday. It would have been a pointless exercise involving him as well. I love the way that God don't waste time with us. Because it would have been really pointless for them to go in and embalm someone that's about to raise back to life. And also the Holy Spirit knew this. So that's why I love the Sabbath, because we're called still now to rest. I'm trying to get this through to Bruce a little bit, that we're called to rest. Now, he's good. He does make us rest. He said to me last week, take some rest this week. But it's because God was so meticulous that he wanted a day where not only could we devote ourselves to him in that day of rest, but also rest our bodies so we can run a little bit harder for him in the days and in our workplace and in our lives. And look at what the scripture said. And they found a stone rolled away from the tomb, but when they went in, they did not find his body. And the Lord Jesus, the body of the Lord Jesus, while they were perplexed about this, behold, two men stood by them in dazzling apparel. Can you imagine getting to a tomb where you know that Jesus was buried, and getting there and finding that he's not there? I don't know about you, but in my life, if I know that I've just been to a funeral, and I've just seen somebody die, and then I'm going to go and lay flowers the very next week, and I get there, and that tomb's got no mud on it, and there's no gravestone, and he's not there, that's going to get my mind a little bit perplexed, and like, oh, hold on a minute. Only last week, I saw this person was dead. So where have they gone? But what I love about this, Jesus told them many times he was going to rise again. Yet because in the busyness of life and their nature, they wasn't thinking about that at this point. They were thinking, no, I need to go put the spices upon him. We need to go and make it so he doesn't stink. We need to go and make sure everything's okay so that he can rest. In the other accounts of the gospel, it says the soul... Oh, sorry, I've just jumped ahead. So what happens there? Can I just borrow you, please, Richard? Because you're quite tall.
Just quite tall.
Just quite tall. And I want you to stand here, just nice and intimidating for me. Yeah, like that, that's cool. So only for about the next 2 or 3 minutes. Jamie, can I borrow you, please? Because you're just as tall-ish. Ish. And I want you to stand next to him. Not quite as tall, but you're quite tall. And can you look into... No, you're not fighting, we're in church, boys. It's Resurrection Sunday, not Knockout Monday. Can we just stand together and look at the congregation and just look very holy, very angelic, but also very intimidating, because you know that the angels of the Bible weren't fair. They were quite intimidating. So just stand there for a moment while I do this next part. Thank you, that'd be wonderful. So while they stand there, I need you to understand the next part of the story, because the stone was rolled back. Yeah? That stone at the very front would have weighed at least a ton or more. Yeah? There was always, when somebody had died and a stone put there, a Roman seal from crucifixion was stamped upon that stone. If anybody broke that stamp, the soldiers that were there would have been put to death. So basically, the soldiers that were there couldn't allow anybody to come forward and break that seal. It's just impossible. So then, we'll jump to the next part of the story of that in a minute, because I want you to just look at these while I read the next part of the scripture. Because it then goes on to say, And as they were frightened and bowed their faces to the ground, the men said to them, "Why do you seek the living among the dead?" That's your cue. Why do you seek the living among the dead? You may speak it.
Why do you seek him?
Wonderful. He is not here, but has risen. Remember how he told you while he was still in Galilee that the Son of Man must be delivered into the hands of sinful men and be crucified on the third day. Rise. Sometimes we may get afraid of things that we see in the natural. Yeah, as a church, we must remember the promises, no matter how scary or challenging. These two angels, which you now know they are reaffirming and proclaiming that Jesus is alive and not dead. And then the next part of the scripture says, "And they remembered his words, and returning from the tomb, they told these things to the 11 and rested." That was Mary Magdalene, and Joanna, and Mary the mother of James, and the other women who was with them told these things to the apostles. But these words seemed to be a then idle tale, and they did not believe them. But Peter rose and ran to the tomb, stooping and looking in, he saw linen clothes by themselves, and he went home marveling at what had happened. But what I want to do is just go back to these two. Because one of the Gospels accounts that the ladies were quite scared, which is understandable. They're quite tall guys. But can you imagine that you've just got there, and you're looking inside for Jesus, and then when you come out, there's these two great big figures awaiting you. At that moment in time, you would want to run. And it's understandable that when sometimes in life what we face, we don't want to face it because we want to run. We want to run away. That could be a family member that was trying to reach out to. It could be anything whatsoever. But what I love about Mary Magdalene is that she actually just stood to listen. Because at this moment in time, they were the only ones that were starting to get the revelation of what had truly had happened upon that morning. And these were the two gentlemen that rolled away the stone. Because it was by the power of God that the stone was rolled. And you can sit down, guys, thank you very much. I was going to do a little experiment with see if I could push you and things like that, but you're just far too big. Because what had happened on that morning, you see, is when they rolled away the stone, the soldiers themselves stood back. Because can you imagine, there'd have been a light, there'd have been a commotion, the seal would have been broken. And in history, we actually find a place in history where if you study it, the cross is the most proven historical fact and the resurrection of Jesus Christ. But because of the enemy, what he tries to do is tries to make us have fear, tries to make our mind think nobody can be raised from life, back to life. Nobody can do that. But I want to tell you today, because of those two angels that were there that morning, because of Mary Magdalene that she believed in, because of the mother of Mary the mother, don't stop reaching out to those in your world who you can reach. Because the resurrection that lives within you is the same resurrection power that raised Christ back to life. And there'll be just a seed that you can throw in just one time that maybe ignites something in their heart. So let's carry on with what happened next. I've told you about the Roman seal. I've told you about the soldiers. But let's look a little bit deeper at the soldiers. These guys were the equivalent of the Royal Marines, the Navy SEALs. These were the best of the best that would have been able to stand anything because the religious leaders were that far perplexed with what was happening to Jesus and the commotion that he was causing before his death that they would have placed the best of the best there. Yet, and they would have defended that tomb unto death. Yet fishermen, a tax collector, and sinful men, the religious leaders made them believe and rolled back a stone and hid a body. How can that ever be? They would never get past them. But the enemy, you see, has turned a lie into something to keep people away from the truth because it's the truth that sets us free. Let's carry on with the next part of the scripture. Now they've been blinded and not to accept Jesus. And as they were frightened and bowed their faces to the ground, the men said to them, "Why do you seek the living among the dead? He's not here, but has risen. Remember, he told you while he was still in Galilee, the Son of Man must be delivered into the hands of sinful men and crucified on the third day." And they remembered these words, and returning from the tomb, they told all of these. So I want to go back to that part, because the ladies now had the revelation of Jesus, and they returned and went to tell the apostles. But not all the apostles actually believed them. It's really strange, because they never gave up in telling them that there was risen men. And some people may have heard it with you, yet never believed it. So I want to tell you now, so in my life, I've gone to many people and told them about the resurrection. And they haven't believed me, they haven't actually listened to what I was saying, and that's okay. Because like the scripture says, Peter did. It just takes one to believe you. You may reach out to 10, but it will just take one to believe you and actually move. So Peter got up and ran. And in one of the accounts of the gospel, it tells him that John went with him. John must have been fasting. He was like an athlete because he got to the tomb first. But he's still on the outside. Now, I think I'm a little bit like Peter, because when he got there, he just ran straight in. And he found that the linen cloths were on the floor. But well, it was laid out nicely. But it doesn't mean that John didn't believe to go in. It just meant that John sometimes was an analyst. He thought about things. And many people who we talk to sometimes think about things, so we just need to plant a seed and talk about the resurrection. Because this is the greatest celebration, I believe, in history. That Jesus rose from the dead. I'm going to say that again because I think I'm still in the morgue as I'm saying it, because we need to go into church. Jesus rose from the dead, which is the greatest celebration in history. Amen. Remember what we said at the beginning, when we say He is risen? He is risen. He is risen? He is risen. Do you believe that this morning? Yes. Do you really believe it though? Yes. Have you come into church this morning feeling a little bit heavy? Who said no? That's wonderful, and you're still waving your flag. Have you come into church this morning maybe because it is Easter Sunday and that's what we do at that time of the year? Which is also okay because Jesus is reaching out to each and every one of us today. And like Lucy said at the beginning, He has chosen you and predestined you before time to be here. So it's not by accident that you're here. It's not by accident that the ladies went to the tomb upon that Sunday to see if He was resurrected. It's not by accident that they went to give Him the spices and they went to embalm Him. It was all part of God's greatest plan that He foretold before, that I will be in the ground, but on the third day I will rise again. So that all men and all women can have a true relationship with their Father in heaven. He had to conquer the cross. He had to conquer the grave so that we could live. So if you're feeling a little bit in here this morning, a bit burdened, just know that He conquered the cross and He conquered the grave so that you can live. And also, we need to celebrate the wins. The greatest win ever is that He was up. The greatest win ever is that He got up and was walking around. And that He was rose back to life. That is for me the biggest victory. Many religions have their, and I'm not calling them, so don't lynch me, this is just what I believe. You can go and see many of the graves and their person who was the pinnacle of their religion will still be in the grave. Or you can go to Jesus' tomb and He won't be there. Many people still keep Jesus on the cross. Yeah, He said when He was on the cross, it is finished. It is finished. That was just the beginning for us. Where Jesus had finished, we could begin. Because we're to pick up our cross and follow Him daily. But it also gave us the power to where we can pick up our cross and follow Him daily. In love, in victory, in every situation and circumstance in our life, we can say, Jesus, help me in this situation. But I want you to know that He's alive and how He's resurrected. So I don't want to preach for a long time today, and this is only half of my message. I was going to talk about the road to Emmaus, but I think it's a great day for us to celebrate Jesus.